Hey, what's up, guys? This is Severin Freeman from the freedomparadox.org, bringing you an in-depth look at a story hitting the news today. A judge out of Tennessee named Casey Morland has been indicted on federal charges. Here's an in-depth look at his history and what is behind this.
Well, good evening. How many times do you think police officers hear this from people they pull over? I know so-and-so.
Our Channel 4i team found it worked when a judge intervened in a traffic stop for a female friend. Nancy Amons joins us now with more on the investigation.
Well, what happened was the end result was a woman was allowed to drive away on a revoked license after Judge Casey Morland made a phone call. And we want to warn you, there is some adult content in the end of the story. The dreaded blue lights, you're being pulled over. If you have friends in high places, maybe you're not getting a ticket or going to jail. Well, that's what happened here on 6th Avenue South downtown on June 16th at 3:20 in the afternoon. Motorcycle officer Michael Douglas of Central Precinct tells me he's just starting his shift when he notices a woman driving without a seatbelt and her tags are expired.
936 Peabody, Tennessee.
He calls dispatch to find out if she has a valid driver's license. She doesn't.
Comes back to a Natalie Amos, D. David, revoked.
She's Natalie Amos, a very close friend of General Sessions Judge Casey Morland. She says she calls the judge, then they send a series of text messages back and forth. She shared what she said were the texts between them. Morland texts her, "Find out the officer's name." She writes, "Michael Douglas." Morland writes, "If I need to talk to him, I will." She texts Morland that the officer is running her license, adding, "It's the last thing I need right now." Morland texts, "I gotcha, girl." Then he texts, "What's happening? Did you drop my name?" But the officer continues to write her a ticket until Morland makes a phone call to the officer's supervisor at Central Precinct. Metro Police verify what happened next in a written statement. That Sergeant Mark Byrne, Douglas's supervisor, was contacted by Judge Morland. Police say Morland tells the sergeant that Amos was on the way to his office for a meeting. The statement says Byrne perceived that Judge Morland wanted the motorist to be allowed to continue to his office. Byrne rides his police motorcycle over to where Amos is stopped to convey that message to the officer. Morland texts Amos that help is on the way, and she writes, "Sweet." Amos is allowed to drive away on a revoked license. She doesn't get a citation for it, just the ticket for no seatbelt and expired tags. As we've been reporting in our investigation into Judge Morland, it isn't the only time the judge acted on Amos's behalf. That ticket for the seatbelt and registration violation, Morland sent the traffic court clerk a letter recalling the ticket. She didn't have to pay it. It was retired. And we told you Judge Morland helped erase $1,200 in old court fines that Amos owed. He declared her indigent, even though she had a job.
I mean, my $1,200 was just gone.
So what kind of business did Amos have with Morland at his office the day she was stopped by the motorcycle officer? Amos showed us texts she said were between her and Morland. The texts back and forth show they didn't have a meeting planned, no official business. In fact, when she was stopped, Amos was on her way to meet the judge at a bar called the Batter's Box. After they met for drinks, Amos said they did go back to the courthouse to have sex in Morland's office. Morland texts her at 6:30 that night, "Damn, you're hot." The next afternoon, Amos texts that she's super grateful for his help. The judge texts, "Just used my superpowers." And then, "My desk still has butt marks on it." Now, I've reached out to Judge Morland a number of times asking for an interview. He declined. He hired a lawyer 2 days ago, Warwick Robinson, and here's what Robinson told me this morning. "I don't have any comment at this time. Being new to this, I'm still doing my own review of all the information out there."
I love coming to work every single day.
But that was just the tip of the iceberg. As you will see, the corruption is far more extensive than anyone could have imagined.
Judge Casey Morland faced a...
After Judge Casey
Morland was accused. Again, with breaking news tonight, Judge Casey Morland is off the bench. The judge resigned today amid allegations of corruption.
Morland was arrested this week on federal charges. He appeared before a judge today. News Channel 5's Investigates Ben Hall was there, and Ben Morland will be released from jail until his trial.
That's right. An incredibly dramatic day today in the federal court. We are waiting for Morland to walk out of the federal courthouse at any time. Now, the major developments during today's hearing, number one, Judge Morland resigned from the bench. He sent his resignation letter to Mayor Megan Barry this afternoon. The testimony today focused on whether Morland should be released from jail while waiting for his trial. He's charged with obstruction of justice, bribery, and witness tampering. His wife, Jackie, took the stand and said Morland could stay at their house on home detention. Now, prosecutors argued he would likely try and interfere with their ongoing investigation and with other witnesses. Morland's attorney dismissed that.
After what he's been through this week and the shock to his system of being arrested and held in solitary confinement, that has obviously made a real impression on him. And I don't believe he would jeopardize his freedom again by violating a condition of a bond order.
Also saw video of Morland discussing planting drugs on his former mistress. She is a key witness in this investigation. Now, this was undercover video. You'll see Morland's reflection in the video. In the video you're about to hear, Morland is talking about a police officer who would pull over his mistress.
What's he want? He didn't say anything. He didn't just. I think his thing is like, as long as it don't come back to him. And I said, don't worry about that. And
is he gonna be the one to pull her over?
He'll be, but he'll be the one to pull her over. But he's just said, his main thing was like, as long as it don't come back to me.
Does he have a dog?
Now, the federal judge ruled this case can move forward, certainly enough evidence for it to move forward. Prosecutors say they found a list on Morland's phone marked witnesses. It had phone numbers of other people they worried Morland might target. Now,
Targeting witnesses is exactly what the judge decided to do.
Tonight, disgraced Nashville Judge Casey Morland faces a whole new round of legal trouble.
This time from a federal grand jury that has now issued a new 5-count felony indictment accusing Morland of obstructing a federal investigation.
News Channel 5 chief investigative reporter Phil Williams has the indictment that was released just this afternoon.
Well, Vicki, this is the indictment. It was issued today by a federal grand jury, and it comes less than a month after Casey Morland was arrested after an undercover FBI investigation.
You have an attorney, sir?
The now former judge faces charges that he tried to obstruct an FBI investigation into allegations that he traded sex for judicial favors.
What's he want?
Morland was caught on hidden cameras asking a confidential informant to get his former mistress, Natalie Amos, to retract allegations she had made against him. This photo, allegedly taken by Morland and sent to the informant, shows the cash he was willing to offer her to sign a false affidavit. The FBI says the judge even wanted to have drugs planted in Amos's car in an attempt to discredit her. That came after News Channel 5 first reported Morland was under FBI investigation. Specifically, Morland is charged with tampering with a witness by corrupt persuasion, obstruction of an official proceeding, obstruction of a criminal investigation by bribery, retaliation against a witness, and falsifying records or documents. Now, of course, you'll remember that Judge Morland resigned following his arrest. 3 of the counts in today's indictment carry a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison, while 2 others have a 10-year max.
To add insult to the people of Tennessee, the judge was once again able to use his influence to remain at his home. No matter how many breaks in the story there are, and how many people come forward, or how many witnesses are questioned, one thing remains true. The judge remains at home. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has recently named Mark Wilderson as the new prosecutor for the area. Perhaps Mark Wilderson will be able to get something. The American people are sick of the double standard when it comes to our officials. If you would like to see this judge locked up and to stop being able to use his power to manipulate the system, contact the U.S. Attorney's Office in Nashville, Tennessee. tell them to stop letting the judge delay his trial.
Thank you.